This is a ranch actually on some old ground that was owned by a power plant over in East Texas, near Athens, Texas. Commercial cow-calf operator there, large operator that produces calves, weans them, and then they also graze a lot of their cattle here. As you can see, the bottom right of that slide, we can see we've got a set of cattle, Charolais influenced cattle, Charolais cross cattle out of predominantly Brangus type cows, and those cattle are out grazing after weaning, and they'll graze through the winter there. Here's a purebred Charolais operation. This would be in deep East Texas, close to the Louisiana border. Link Charolais, and their operation kind of hinges around a poultry farm. They also are in the poultry business, so they've got a lot of growing houses. And with chickens and poultry, you also have manure, and so they have the ability to take that manure, apply it to the fields. It helps cheapen up their fertilizer bill, so they can grow a lot of grass on that particular operation, high quality grass for their cows, but then also developing their bulls as well and replacement females. So another very progressive operation. This is the Jordan's Ranch, owned by Linda Galeta. And we will most likely have her as a guest lecturer at some point during the semester. And this Linda Galeta grew up on a family ranch, grew up in the Katy, Texas area on a rice farm and cattle ranch. Because of urban sprawl, her dad sold that ranch and then purchased some property up in the Anderson County area and moved the ranch up there. And Linda went off and made a career for herself in the fashion industry, and when her father passed away, she wanted to get back to the cattle operation. And so she has been managing the operation, and she runs it and been doing it for about 13, 14 years now. And really nice commercial cow-calf operation, predominantly utilizing Brangus cows and Charolais and Angus bulls over there in East Texas. She direct markets most of her cattle as well. So a very progressive commercial, large commercial cow-calf operation. Here's another operation in northeast Texas, and predominantly Brangus type cattle and running Charolais bulls back on those. And this is a producer, the Moreland Ranch up in that area. And large commercial cow-calf operation, and they have incorporated some technology. As you can see, the tractor there and the feed mixer, they mix their own supplements, and again, they're trying to do some least cost and trying to cheapen up what it costs to feed and develop these cattle. Typically, we'll wean calves, develop them in a stocker phase, and then market those cattle up at the Oklahoma City livestock auction there. Here's a ranch, and this would be a little bit different area than we've talked about. This would be on the Gulf Coast, down on the coast. Very extensive operation, not a lot of input there. You can see the cattle there. They're going to be heavy Brahman influence because of that hot, humid, pretty rough conditions that are down on the coast area. But another large commercial cow-calf operation there. One of the things I put in these slides, and some of the areas that these cattle are in, like that Gulf Coast, are very tough areas on a day-to-day basis because of the lower quality grass and some of the conditions that they have, alligators, snakes, mosquitoes, those types of things. It takes a very special cow to live in that part of the world. But then they also can get into some disasters and scenarios. This was Hurricane Ike that came on board, and as you can see, those highline poles there, the storm surge came up and came up nearly to the top of those highline poles. And so those producers lost a lot of cattle, a lot of calves. The cows survived the storm surge, but you can see there the fire truck there pumping water to those cattle because we had a challenge during that response to that disaster where we had to go in and bring fresh water for a period of time until it rained because of all the water had a lot of salt in it with that. This is a commercial operation close to College Station, very large cow-calf operation that is owned, and this would be RLR cattle, the Redding family, and you can see the picture there. We've got Mr. Redding in the blue jacket in that top left picture, and also it's managed by him as well as two son-in-laws. Extremely large cow-calf operation, a pretty diverse operation. They raise a lot of embryo calves for purebred customers. They also turn out bulls and produce commercial calves that end up going into the feed yards. But then they also, you can see there, Mr. Redding sorting off some stocker cattle there. And so they purchase a lot of cattle, put together cattle, straighten them out, and then they ship them to the feed yard in Kansas as well. The bottom pictures you can see, it looks like a hodgepodge of calves, anything from a shorthorn to a Cimbra to a straight Angus, but those would all be embryo calves, and those are recep cows. And so they raise the calf, and then the customer pays them a fee to raise that calf all the way until weaning there. This is another operation actually closer to Houston, Texas. Retired military general that has a large set of F1 cows, about 100 cows, and he's retiring back to his homestead there. Okay, so this producer, Mr. House, really focuses a lot on forage management, producing high quality forage like Tifton 85 and jigs and common Bermuda. Focuses a lot on stockpiling forage to try to minimize the amount of hay, but he's got a really tremendous set of F1 Brahman Hereford cows there, and running either Angus or Charolais bulls on those cows depending on the market potential of the calves there. This is, I wanted to show you another side of the commercial cow-calf, or the purebred business. In Texas, we have a very large youth livestock program. And so with that, there is a tremendous market for all of our livestock species, and cattle being one of those, both the show heifer and show steer market. When we factor in shows like Fort Worth and San Antonio and Houston having about 2,000 steers and heifers each showing up at those events, plus on top of all of our major shows, we have the market for our county fairs and local shows. So there is a big market for show steers and heifers for the 4-H and livestock kids. And so there is some value to produce some high quality genetics to push into that. There's a lot of marketing that goes along with it. So it's very similar to just a straight purebred operation, but a little more specialized. And so you can see the cattle have got to be clipped up for the marketing. And then also, the juniors may ask you questions and ask for your help along the way as well. So this is an example of my particular operation where we've got just a handful of cows. We do some embryo transfer work, and it's a way for myself to generate some extra dollars for the family as well, and it's something we enjoy too. So again, a little bit different, purebred side, but also the show steer and heifer business here in the state of Texas, across the U.S. I put this up, and I sometimes ask the students, where in Texas is this? And if you look at the grasses and the cattle, you may say, well, this is maybe closer down to the Gulf Coast, but I always throw this in. It's kind of a trick question here. This is a cow-calf operation in Puerto Rico. And so it's in the United States, but a little bit different scenario. So it's in Puerto Rico, and this particular operation, Miss Vanessa Sanchez, a family operation it's been in for generations, and run predominantly Brangus type cows in this area. But a beautiful operation right there on the coast, off the coast there in Puerto Rico. So a little bit of a trick question there. As you can see, just wanted to show you the slide of where her ranch was, and it would be in the bottom left portion of Puerto Rico there. So that gives you an idea of just some differences in the demographics of the cow-calf operations. And I just gave you some of the more predominant ones, but there's so many differences in types and kinds of operations scattered across the state of Texas, big and small. But they all do impact the beef industry, whether it's just a few head or thousands of head.